Welcome, everyone, to the Transformative Language Arts Network Virtual Salon. I am your host, Amanda Faye Laxon. I graduated with my Master of Arts in TLA in 2010 and previously served on the TLAN board as the membership on the membership committee and currently teach the foundations classes for TLA certification. So TLA has been a huge part of my life and um, keeps pulling me back no matter what writing TLA craft I do. For those of you who are new to TLA, the TLA network is a gathering place for people who change the world with words. We use the written, spoken, and sung word for personal and community transformation. This can take many different forms, from writing stories to poetry to memoir and more. Everyone who reads today has found a home as a member of the TLA network community, as I have. A few housekeeping notes. There is no tolerance for hate speech, harassment, or bullying. This event is being recorded and will be distributed publicly, so please keep your mics muted during the presentation part of the program, but please engage with the artists and community through the chat box. If you have questions or comments, please write them in the chat so we can share with the artists. And we are fundraising for the end of the year, as a lot of people are. We know dollars are stretched thin, but if you have any to spare, we would very much welcome you donating to our end of year fundraiser, tlanetwork.org/donate. Thank you so much, and please enjoy the TLAN virtual salon. Our first artist is Tracie Nichols, who many of you have probably communicated with in her role as TLAN coordinator slash managing director now. But she is also a fantastic poet and facilitator and teacher, so all of those things. Tracie is a transformative language artist, writing poetry and facilitating writing adventures for shy but curious people from her tiny desk under the wide reach of two old sycamore trees. She finds that writing poetry is an unwieldy collision of alligator wrestling and cat herding, held together by occasional chocolate-infused bliss, and she still does it anyway. Tracie is honored. Her poetry has appeared in Rogue Agent, Text Power Telling, Kerning, A Space for Words, The Weight of Motherhood Anthology, and the Resistance and Resilience exhibit at Eclipse Center for Creative Community. You can find Tracie at tracienichols.com or tracienichols.substack.com. Welcome, Tracie.
Hi, Amanda. Thank you. That was really kind. And just so you all know, I get to teach with Amanda. So I have an incredible time doing that. She's amazing. And so I'm going to present tonight poems from an unpublished manuscript that I'm attempting to have published. And it is in honor of and in memory of my mother's passing and my journey with all of that. And I think I'll just leave it there. Living room of your house the day you came home. You were told to believe that this was your home, the place you were safe, belonged. Hand nestled in hand, deep oak roots spread wide in the front yard. You insisted you didn't remember this place, that the textures were wrong, the air too full of unfamiliar faces, mismatched eyes, voices echoing from obscured corners. You, with your frayed rope legs, tethered, wary, and confused in the middle of it all, trapped by kindness and all the relentless hope of mother in their mouths. Are they more right than the exploded vessels in your brain? the slow, sanguinated leak filling spaces where memories lived. There's real and there's remembered. But I wonder, where's the kindest place for you to live? Responding to Louise Gluck's Trillium, June 2023. I want to understand why you broke those lines where you did, and what you meant by that glorious M-bridge to the unknown. But she's spiraling down, and any give-a-shits I have left are hers. I'm left with what my blood knows, even split, even now. My hands are the best poet. Endurance. Opening in spite of shortening time. Asters in November. You and me. Responding to Louise Gluck from a hospital room full of family, July 2023. Crashed, rose, crashed again, until finally a bear of a man with a degree in lungs announced, "Good, this is progress. Louise, I still don't know what to do." She's weak, in pain, angry, fragile, loses the thread more often than she follows it. But for all that, she's here. And my father can see a reason to get out of bed in the morning. Responding to Louise Gluck's End of Winter from my kitchen table, July 2023. Here's the thing, Louise. I haven't even read the poem yet because my mind is mined by the mound of her pale belly, crabbing hands, pain yarps, angry blue eyes, the skewed, slurping soundtrack of her oxygen feed. I thought she was dead. Dad's voice, my brother's voice, the doctor's words all equal dead soon. I'm not sure how I feel about her beating the odds. Tender obscenity. My father's hand curled around the plastic bag that holds his wife. Ache. Single goose calling through the moon and mid-indigo night. No sound lonelier. "3 a.m., 2 months after Mom died. Just as I lost hope, the trill of our tiny screech owl neighbor tumbled through moon-slashed indigo air down the bark of the old chestnut tree, landing in my open-mouthed grief. I'm not alone, slipped out my slicked lips and waited. I'm not alone. Recovery. White pine branch script scrawled across skies no longer spitting snow. Chickadees trace droplets of song from bough to genuflecting bough. Back after months of hospitals and hell, we begin our long, slow forgetting. Short list of certain certainties. One cat hair will always surface in every meal I prepare. Sunlight will always break into a dozen rainbows in our kitchen. I will always miss her, despite, because. Responding to Louise Gluck from my tiny desk on Mom's birthday, 8 months after she died. Stealthy hard firsts lurk along the arc of the months following that ultimate last. Here I am writing about her again. Here I am writing. big, long exhale. You do not have to understand to stop and let this aching moment breathe. In fact, that very pause, the act of tipping the world on edge, basting it with love for the briefest time, for no other reason than it exists. That act takes this broken limb hour and knits it into something we can all survive. Thank you.
Oh, thank you so much, Tracie. That was gorgeous. I the in the chat, people are just like, line, like, and Tasha's like, I just can't, I can't. Tasjha, you want to unmute and talk about how you can't? Let's respond.
I don't know if I can talk because
That's all right.
Thank you for your heart, Tasjha.
Yeah, yeah, that was stunning. It's from and the flow of poems that you chose for this reading were so stunning. The For me, the line, "My father can see a reason to get out of bed in the morning," and then "plastic bag that holds his wife" is like, ugh, hard, so hard. But then, and "begin our long, slow forgetting. I'm feeling a rising." And then here I am writing. And I was like, oh, yes, like, and that's TLA right there, right?
Yeah.
Like, that's how we survive is through writing. So yeah, I'm curious, how do you're hoping to get this published, as a manuscript. How did the process of writing these pieces, either like at the bedside or wherever, and in conversation with Louise Gluck, like how did all of that come about? How did it feel as you were doing it, and how did it transform your grief?
I think it all came about in a very strange and sideways way. I mean, I was in 2023, I was simultaneously starting two new jobs, and my mother was spiraling down health-wise. I did not have time to write. I didn't have the energy, the heart to write. So what I did was I grabbed a book off my shelf and I was just like, and it was this one. It was
Mm,
Gluck's The Wild Iris. And I just was like, I'll just respond to a poem a day and that'll kind of keep me going. And it'll be a thing I can do. Well, it started out with me, in the beginning, just kind of, responding or evaluating a poem or, that kind of thing. But what it turned into was in these weird places, in hotel rooms and in cafes and in, hospital rooms. And I would start trying to like respond to the poem. And then it was just like, the phrase, "here's the thing, Louise," just kept popping up. And I'm just like, "here's the thing, Louise." And it was a conversation that allowed me into what was happening that was unspeakable, that was
mm,
I couldn't language it if I just tried to start at the emotion of the thing. But if I started with that weird little phrase and I imagined I was having this conversation with this woman I've never met, Louise Gluck, um, then it gave me a way in. And
mm,
and in between, I did what I always do, which is I go to nature and I returned over and over again to these tiny moments, little spaces here and there, like the lone goose. And, there's actually a bunch more all the way throughout the manuscript. Um, so it all just wove together. And I think what happened was letting myself step in sideways whenever I needed to by that kind of, I'm just sitting down, I'm going to just look at a poem by Louise Gluck and then I'm going to respond to it, was, me giving myself permission to sidestep all the emotion if I wanted to, but then it would come pouring out anyway.
Yeah.
So, and it was very much a TLA experience. I mean, yeah. And I chose a lot of the pieces that I chose because they did illustrate, the way that the writing sustained and supported me. Um,
Mhm.
so yeah.
It's really stunning because for many reasons, but that how personal and like how detailed you get, and there's someone commented like how it becomes universal, Nicole, so personal but poignantly universal. And I think that's, I mean, it's a gift of poetry. It's a gift of your voice specifically. I love this idea of responding to a poem a day and then how that unlocks something.
Yeah.
Um, so it was the right book, right poem, like book of poems, um, to respond to. Um, is there anything else you want to share about the pieces you wrote?
Um, I think one of the things that surprised me about this was I said a lot of things that people, that often, feel like they're hidden, like they're kind of the
Mhm.
unspoken things, the things that
Yeah,
people say that about,
right.
um, and and I wrote them all again with permission that no one would ever have to see them. And then what really shocked me was I wanted to make a manuscript out of it and I wanted to put
Mhm,
it out in the world.
mhm.
So yeah, so I'm sort of startling myself out of my own, I don't know, little complacent space by the things that I'm writing and say, and then I want to make public. So yeah.
Yeah, I could definitely hear some that I'm like, oh, that's so real and so not something that people say very often. Like, but I think it's the only way that we can get to like real truths about ourselves and about what we're experiencing by saying we're not going to share this with anyone, like, without having to think about the audience. But then I'm delighted that you shared them with us because, as you know, hearing other people's stories can be very powerful and revealing to the hearer of the stories. So thank you
Mhm.
so much, Tracie. That was gorgeous.
Thank you,
Yay. Give it up for
everyone.
Tracie. Beautiful. Thank you. Okay. So next up, we have Nicole C Livengood. I forgot how to, I forgot to ask you if it's Livengood or Livengood.
Living good.
Thank you. That makes me feel like, oh, living good. Like I like that. So Nicole C Livengood. Nicole is a creative writer, independent scholar, and recovering academic who lives, hikes, and drinks coffee in Southeast Ohio. She really does not like writing biographies about herself, but loves hearing about others' lives. She just completed a ghostwriting a memoir, and her NEH Digital Humanities project, Beyond Seduction and Abortion, the life and memoir of Zulma Marache, is forthcoming. Follow Nicole at Nicole C Livengood.substack.com. Welcome, Nicole.
Thank you, Amanda. So the piece I'm going to read stemmed out of a class called Storytelling in the Body with Danielle Bainbridge, Jane Sue, and Kimberly Gomes. And I felt like I was writing the same thing over and over again, and they were all angry. And I remember at one point I said, I promise you, I'm really a funny person. So this is my funny poem, and it's a prose poem. So it's called At the Quaker Meeting. At the Quaker meeting, I wait to be transformed, for the dove to alight, for a radiant ball of grace to ignite my soul. My soul, I think, rests somewhere just behind my navel, the last trace of the cord that once bound me and the Trinity into a quadrinity of holy perfection. Imperfect, I try to shush the critic that tells me that this is not what a Quaker meeting should be. In this mildewed parlor with the creaky doors and floors that break the silence as people enter and leave and limp their way up the faded staircase, past the man spread out in the Queen Anne's chair with a laptop resting on his thighs. The laptop takes me by surprise, as does the laptop on the table. I know it's the Amish and not the Quakers who eschew technology, but still, I'm taken aback. Back in grad school, I learned about the Quaker Mary Dyer and the antinomian Anne Hutchinson, women who insisted on dancing naked and unsupervised with the Holy Spirit in transcendent union. Transcendent union is why I am here. I wait expectantly, and surely not unrealistically, for an ecstatic divine embrace. Diabolic embrace is more like it. I have monkey mind, a monkey in my mind. He's jumping and squealing on the spongy trampoline in my brain. My books have warned me. They say, to paraphrase, you can't tame a monkey on a trampoline. Try and you might get bit. The books say, notice the monkey, observe the thought, let it go. I toss the thought like a writhing worm to the crow outside the window. The crow catches it. She caws at her cronies, gathered for their coffee clutch in the unfurling oaks. The crones, for crones they must be, mutter and gab and gossip. They crescendo in outrage. A car drives by, shaking the 19th century house and drowning out the crows with its making up for something bass. A bass voice booms through the silence from the laptop on the table. The still, small voice has spoken to its owner. He is moved to share. His insight is profound to him, not to me. It's not stupid. It's just so secular. Secular? My cacophonous spirit craves sacred solitude. The bones of my faith ache for renovation. I expected and welcomed the lack of pastors and teachers and sacraments, but I hear the howls of my repressed Scandinavian Lutheran DNA bellowing through the rubble, pushing upward through the sediment of my evangelical childhood and still toppling Baptist adulthood. My DNA screeches, look where you are. This Quaker meeting is in a house owned by the Unitarians. Are you surprised by this lack of God? God, I whisper to that purse-mouthed specter, can be anywhere, in any form. It hisses back. There's nothing sacred here, no song or psalm or prayer. Pray is something I can do silently as I wait for the, how long has it been? Minutes to go by. I stop. I've come for a grace I can neither accept nor freely give. I observe the thoughts, observe the feelings, and let them go. Snatch them back, turn them over as I open my hands in my lap and breathe deeply. I coax my shoulders down from my ears. Think about Descartes, poor soul. What did he know? What do I know? I know that at church, my church, I shift in the molded plastic seat to make sure my screams stay inside. I know that here, some 20 or 50 or 172 minutes into unquiet stillness, I shift on the settee to find relief from a spring, which slides through my rear, piercing upward through fat and sinews until it punctures my conscience. Judge much, Nicole? What about that plank in your own eye, sister? Returning stubbornly to the waiting, I repeat, be still and know that I am God. Be still and know. Be still. Be still, do nothing, wait. These are the rules of Quaker meeting. My mantra breaks the rules. If not of Quaker meeting, then of centering prayer. It is apophatic, according to my books. Or is it cataphatic? Catalyptic? Whatever. The rules of my life say I must breathe, so I breathe. I count my breaths and lose track when someone's stomach growls. I roll my stiff neck. I listen to the crows and the drip of the coffee maker and the flag flapping in the wind and the hum of the laptop's artificial lungs rasping. It's surprising what one hears in the silence. I tap out the rhythm and meter of "'Tis a gift to be simple." I suck at tapping out the rhythm and meter of anything. I think of my friend who got the giggles at a Quaker meeting. She watched a boy lick a peppermint stick to a fine point and then accidentally stick it up his nose. I congratulate myself on not getting the giggles. I think my friend had her eyes open. I think, good job, Nicole. You've kept your eyes closed. I open my eyes. Next to me, the narrow woman with luminous curls picks at a scab. I close my eyes. I jump as the man in the Queen Anne's chair speaks. He has meditated on the text we've been given, the non-prayer, non-song, non-psalm, non-sacred passage that started this period of stillness. He's moved to share that he feels inferior. Inferiority, I get. These kind Quakers, they've really done it. They've focused, they've thought, they've been enlightened. Some have been moved by the Spirit. Does it tickle the Spirit? I wouldn't know. The only thing moving in me is indigestion. I digest slowly that I don't understand. I've wanted this freedom from the black and white, the written and unwritten rules, the perverted pairing of politics and faith. I've craved release from the theology of guilt and sacraments of should that push my prickly, naughty, tearful body to church each Sunday. I've wanted this. Now that I have it, I don't know what to do. I observe my double standard. I have not been able to let it go. It's surprising what I've seen in the silence as I wait to be transformed. Wait for the dove to alight, for a radiant ball of grace to ignite my soul, which, I am certain, is located somewhere just behind my navel.
Awesome. You are funny, hilarious, and this is like such a delight. This is like me at every meditation, unless I'm asleep. um, but yeah, no, I mean, I love that. Like I love humor, and I love the like the restlessness of it because we think of prayer um being some sort of like being calming, which I'm sure it can be, but the this stillness, it's a lot. So yeah, so talk to me, like how, I mean, was this like true to life? Like when did this Quaker meeting happen in your life?
I think it was August 3rd of earlier this year, and I really
Oh,
had,
okay, yeah.
yeah, I've been searching for I'm just curious about different churches and different ways of
Hmm.
worship, and I mentioned when we were kind of meeting up at the beginning that I've been um, hungry for silence, and I really thought like I'd go and just like I would be so at ease. And then the whole time, like there were all these things to interrupt. And I wouldn't have been, of course, at ease or silent or at peace anyway. But it was just really funny, this desire that I wanted, my soul needed quiet. And I'm like, oh, that smells like mildew. And wait, Nicole, shut up. Just be quiet for a minute. And so it was pretty true to life, actually.
I love it. The tapping, the rhythm of "'Tis a Gift to Be Simple." I'm like, oh, this is like such an ironic and funny detail, like because that song is like so simple, like da 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 da. But the idea that you're thinking of it and tapping it and tapping and thinking about how you suck at tapping, like that just broke me. I'm like, it was awesome. The the it, I also think of the beginning of Natalie Goldberg's Writing Down the Bones, where she talks about having been like a Buddhist like monk. I think that's her practice. And the practice is like her practice is just sitting. Like you can all that stuff can come in your head, but as long as your butt is on the like ground and you're staring at the wall, you're doing the thing. And so maybe that's part of the like for me that was a much like very much a relief thinking of it's like, oh, okay, I don't have to like do something specifically, like I'm not supposed to be a certain way um to be spiritual or like to be a writer, which is something we were also talking about right before this, as we were, doing our intros, that wherever you are a spiritual person, or you are doing the spiritual thing, and like, if you are writing garbage, you are writing still. Like, and I think that's delightful. So you were talking about the class storytelling from the body, which is a TLAN class, started as a workshop, I believe, at Power of Words last year. How how did this poem, you said that your previous poems were angry, like how did this, um besides it being like funny, how did you feel like you could get to this place? Was it the prompt, or was it something else? You had released the anger, like what do you think?
Yeah, I think a lot of it was I had released the anger, but then I just grew so disgusted with myself because, like I said, I felt like I was writing the same thing over and over again, and I felt like surely I can say something else. But then it was when I said, but really, I'm a really very funny person, because this was the first time I'd met any of the folks in class, and I thought, oh my gosh, Nicole. Um, so then it was a challenge for me, and since I had just done that and had been very aware of my body, which I was not transcending in ecstatic union. I thought
No.
of the juxtaposition was interesting. I had a lot of fun with it.
I love it. But that's also part of it. Like, that's part of the, like, for me, that's part of the morning pages of practice, is like getting the junk out, or not that you were writing junk, but sometimes it's repeating, like doing the repetition and then being like, okay, how do we transform? Like, I know this is not all I am. And so I love that this came out for you. So yeah. Anything else you want to share before we go on to our next performer?
No, just thank you for this opportunity, and thanks for everyone for showing up. So thank you.
Awesome. Thank you. Read your comments. They're delightful. Super fun. Thanks, Nicole. Okay. Next up, we have Barbara Baker. Barbara has always found writing to be an internal soulmate that has provided a pathway to her heart and soul by exploring personal truths and anthems for recovering and healing from traumas. Her purpose is to guide others and herself to find their voices to be heard and spaces to be seen. Barbara is currently a graduate student in the drama therapy program at Kansas State University and a member of the Transformative Language Arts Network. Welcome, Barbara.
Want to thank you, Amanda. I'm very happy to be here. I'm going to share some writing that's a part of different what I consider tapestries in my life. And so this first one I created from a picture when I was much younger, in my 20s, in Massachusetts, and I was by a lake, but my eyes were closed. And the name of the poem is Eyes Closed, and I think it will speak for itself. Eyes closed to a world that shut them, reflective of a world that isolates Black women, refusing to acknowledge their existence, mirroring a family that cursed my birth and abandoned my life. Eyes closed, not allowed to see who I really was and that I deserved to be on this earth. Socially constructed to self-hate and wishing I was someone beautiful. Brown eyes, raven dark brown hair, tall, well-proportioned body frame, beauty that my eyes were closed to in my youth that day. To go back again with eyes open and see what was real would be a gift. Somehow nature was trying to open my eyes that day, casting a light upon my face, wanting me to see myself in the pond reflection. pushing me to be vibrantly evolving as the green foliage. But I kept my eyes closed tight and my heart even tighter. Safer to be in a world locked away with closed eyes. And this next poem became an anthem for me. It's called I Am and I Always Will Be. And once again, I think it speaks for itself and to the daily experiences that I have as a woman of color. When a Black woman speaks, the world turns a deaf ear. When a Black woman asks a question, the world says, "Who are you?" When a Black woman's path is demolished, she says, "I will be a bridge for humanity." When a Black woman says, "I'm lonely," the world has forgotten her beauty. When a Black woman says, "Get out of my way," the world will learn a lesson about messing with a sister. And when a Black woman speaks, I say I am and will always be. This next poem I wrote during the heart of my cancer journey. I'm a stage 3 colon cancer survivor. And I wrote during that time, and everybody tells me, wow, how did you write during that time? And for me, it was my therapy on paper. And so this is from a play I wrote about that experience. And I haven't titled it yet, but I will share it with you. Lovers hold hands and wander aimlessly down harbor piers. The ocean is lonely. Half moon with white mists. Perhaps I'll take a walk in the rowdy water waves. Seaweed wrapping around my ankles and legs. Just keep walking with the water caressing up my body and sucking up the cancer inside. Meet Jesus walking on that water and take his hand to the rainbow bridge. Blazing and glowing the light around us. His embrace eliminates the cancer mass. No more chemo nausea, no more radiation diarrhea, no more surgery pain or aftermath results. No fearing hair loss and skin discolorization. My mom's eyes glowing as they did when I came home when she was here on earth. Now I would be truly home with her. My aunt saying, "We got you, honey." My dad saying, "We sure do love you." The world would say I gave up the easy way, eulogize me with cancer and how it made me give up. My lost people, my underground people, will come out of their holes, saying if they had only known, they always loved me. But that is the day I truly owned my dignity and my journey. As Jesus said on the cross before his death, "It is done." God's ocean ascending me to life beyond this earth. And like I said, that was in the heart of my cancer journey. So I don't want anyone to worry, but that was one of those bad days that I had during that journey. This was coming into survivorship. And so I'm going to read about the abandoned house, and then I will read about the fire within, which is me now. My life is like an abandoned house. Entrances and windows are sealed. Outside, there's some fresh makeup in the public places and some cute decorations for cosmetic appeal. Inside, there's a hollow echo. The belly and the abdomen of the house have been reconstructed to prevent demolition due to terminal damage. There are creaks and cracks on the floor from life lived unexpectedly by heavy stomps and crashes. The clock ticks and gets lost in a time warp. The doors jammed to the bedroom. Love has never lived here. Friends get bored by the rooms that were to be our creations together and walk away from the house. But I am seeking to be an architect, refresh and refurbish that house. It all starts with a welcoming sign. Open windows and doors. Let the fresh air of life in. And the fire within. I am nurturing and cuddling that fire within. No one is allowed to quench that fire dry. Fire represents my need to find solace within the world. The fire sings music of my life in realms. The fire burns the toxins of humankind's ills out of my body. Fire reminds me that I came from the dust of the earth and from the ancestors and from my ancestors wrapped around me in the wind. Fire is my mirage of life past, life forward, and life beyond. I dance with fire, my constant and loyal companion, fed by the desires and wit within. Fire is in my belly like an inferno, ready to mingle and feed my sunrise. Thank you for listening. I appreciate it.
Ah, so beautiful, Barbara. So beautiful. Yeah, you got a lot of you have a lot of reading to do in the conference. So homework. But I mean that was absolutely stunning. Thank you so much for sharing all like that whole arc. Um the eyes opening to the fire burning is like just that was a beautiful arc of poetry, drama, like all of the things. Um, with the drama piece, you were talking about your survivorship, but it's like you've survived more than stage three colon cancer, like, you know, and from With the Eyes Closed, and then your anthem, which was so powerful. So, how did or how has writing these pieces specifically been transformative for you in your journey?
You know, Amanda, I said it a little bit in my introduction with kind of writing being a soulmate for me.
Yeah.
I'm a person who often, and by virtue of some of my social identities, feel like I'm not seen or heard. And
Mm,
when I go to the page, and my challenge is not to become too much in my head where I'm not seen and heard in my head. So when I put those words on paper, it becomes a validation of me and who I am. And then I think the second step of that is we've been talking about a lot in drama therapy, and I agree with it as a writer on my own, that importance of witnessing is very
mhm,
important, not to close that writing off. For a while, I need to keep that writing with me and kind of
mhm,
keep it as my way of loving myself, of getting the oppression out, of liberating myself. But I think the next stage is putting it out there for others to witness and to
mhm,
learn from. Um, so I continue to, and this has kind of been considered my coming out with my writing because I haven't shared it for a long, long time. And so
mhm,
I'm thankful for TLA to have this space for me to share it because I knew this would be a group that would be very open to being
mhm.
witnesses and hearing my voice.
Absolutely. Thank you so much, Barbara. Tracie wants to know, how do you keep yourself from getting too in your head? Do you have any advice for the rest of us how to do
Well,
that?
you know, I do, and I learned this in my drama therapy classes. I do a daily self-care plan, or I do a self-care plan for the week, which
Mhm,
includes what am I going to do cognitively, what am I going to do emotionally for myself, what am I going to do spiritually, and I try to follow that. And then I'm still grasping. I had some of those, what I call demons, come in my head before I did this reading. And
yeah.
so I had to say, no, you can't, you don't have permission to speak. I'm going to speak today. I'm going to hear my voice today, these words I put on the page. And it's so hard to do, to have that talk, to shed it down. But I'm currently really practicing it so that I'm saying, thank you for your opinions. But right now, I don't need to hear those opinions. I got my own gut hunch I need to go with, and I'm going to go with it. But so you need to be quiet right now. And so I'm trying to learn that self-talk that I'm putting within myself, which I think TLA kind of emphasizes too, to really look at your self-talk and what you're saying to yourself. Karen has been very helpful to me about that, is don't underestimate yourself, don't diminish yourself. And I'm learning that through my self-talk, not to do that.
Awesome. Thank you, Barbara. And as Tasjha said, like at the beginning of your reading, we need your voice, Miss Barbara. Thank you for calling her and us all in. Thank you so much, Barbara.
Thank you,
Appreciate
Amanda. I very much appreciate it.
Thank you. All right. Next up, we have Tasjha Dixon. Tasjha is a single mom, social worker, Army veteran, yoga teacher, poet, writer, orator, Buddhist teacher, and guide, amongst others. She just graduated in August with her Master's of Fine Arts degree in creative writing from Buddhist-inspired Naropa University and earned a Bachelor's of Science degree in sociology with a minor in women and gender studies in 2006 from the University of Missouri, Kansas City. Tasjha has dedicated her life to service. She has taken bodhisattva vows, making the lifelong commitment to work for the benefit of all beings and share compassion everywhere she goes. Learn more at empoweringkc.tasjha.com. Welcome, Tasjha.
Hey, thank you. So if you've heard me before, you've heard me say that my poetry mentor when I was in grad school, whenever we would go around the classroom to read, I think it's natural for people to begin to kind of explain, what they're getting ready to do and what they're getting ready to say, like setting it up. And he would always just say this. He would like cut you off in the middle and say, fuck that, no preamble, just do it. Just do it, no preamble. So now that has become my preamble that I explain that I don't do preambles. But anyway, all right. How do I release a pain that preceded my mom's pregnancy? How do I release what lives deeper than the ocean is deep? Deep like remembering that I will one day die too. Two brings us together to die along with or alongside one another and everything else. This wants to be a love letter to me, but I forgot who she is. So how can I love her when I think I actually hate her? I want to love her better. I'm walking through the world looking for me. It's hard to be lost when you are the one who is lost. This feels like it should be a love letter to me. When all I hear in my house every day is my 18-year-old processing out loud what a terrible life he has and that his mom is just the worst. So that soundtrack knocks me down, and it's hard to believe in me when the only person who believes in me is me, and she can't be trusted. There's no Band-Aid, no tourniquet, no self-care that fixes it. How to live broken. How to walk in disrepair. Or just despair. I want to be well, and I struggle to stay within my mind, body, spirit, centered, but instead I'm broken into thirds. Humpty broke and was put back together, and Black and brown moms who are broke and families that, hold on, y'all, and families that break under the weight are violently separated. Children screaming and reaching for a parent, for mom. Mom crying the tears of families pulled apart from real arms, not emotionally imagined ones. The brown fingers that can't sit still till I figure it out. My hands rest when I make a decision. They move with instinct, finding ways to touch my pain with all fingers. It is the thumb and middle finger who need to touch. Represent the thumbs up or fuck you, but lately I've learned how to mix the two. The only problem is that I forgot that pertained to you. But the white gun steals brown hands, takes brown lives, and sheds black blood. I write the best shit during a mental breakdown, or maybe during an upward breakup, like doctors do to reset an arm bone out of place. Bone out of place, we break it to reset it and get it back right. I wonder if I'm being broken so that I can reset and get back right. To prioritize the pain instead of standing up for one another, I'd rather sit down and write. It's okay to rest and care for me, I said. But she can't. Be trusted, they said. I think she really wants me dead. I'm writing tonight more than I've written in 2 months. I cry a whole lot. My tears drip onto the page and tell you a story that I hope makes you cry a whole lot. How can I love me when I inflict a pain upon those who mean so much to me? Who was I before they named me? I think the real question is, who am I now after they've named me? I am powerful, was just said in my mind, but then I remember history and I hear the whip on his black back. I see Sandra on the floor of her cell of injustice, like the babies of Black women for sale to work in the fields. I feel their tears. They are reaching with terror as her family is torn apart. I was never told to be nice because my family doesn't believe in nice, just like God. But being nice was always what I chose in the face of pain. Facing each other instead of back to back, drifting away with each angry but really sad step. I reminded my 8-year-old self that I was good. I was good as a dartboard for other people's darts. My heart is the meat and children are the tenderizer. It tenderly tore me into 1,000 tiny teardrops. A baby sister stolen by racist waters, and her 3-year-old little sister jumping into the unswimmable flood died to save her little baby sister. But she made her own decision to stay with her big sister. Children with mouths screaming, arms that won't grow long enough to grab mom's hand. Instead, it was slipped away by ice. Tamir Rice playing in the park, not knowing that the police were coming to end his play date. Love and compassion. It can be hard to know which is which, but I think love comes with passion, and compassion comes with grief. And my heart is fluent in grief. My heart wants to love, but compassion feels safe till the drug addict that you've become tender to lies to the cops. And I forgive me enough to remember that just because hurt people, I am not going to allow your pain to hurt me. Poets are the unacknowledged legislators of the world. Somebody told me that freedom was given, but how can you give me something that I already am? When my feet walk upon the earth, I am freedom. I'm not your freedom, the way that you mutilate females. You tell us that slavery is over, yet the massa still rapes and impregnates us so that they can kill our brown babies with your bullets giving freedom. Your fingers that are frenzied with fear, yet you say we are the problem. But really, your freedom sounds more like Black people's prison shoes on the white man's floor. Walking along his walking path with your barbed razor-laced wire fences, 6 times as tall as a full-grown man will ever be. It's like you know that our freedom stands 20 feet tall even when we are 6 feet under. Our souls fly high, like me, high after the smoke clears. When you started to believe in plant medicine, I wondered what pesticides you used. Even what God put here for me and you only becomes free after my lips become blue. Your fake freedom forcing me to face what's real. Uncovering the lie. If you love Fred Hampton, give me liberty or give me death. Freedom demands sacrifice. Desolate midnight, no one, has emancipated proclamation. Somebody lied, synonyms for black and white. Let me get the language right. Americanism, political. Yet you tell me I'm only good when I open my thighs. Thank you.
Thank you, Tasjha.
Mm-hmm.
So powerful as always. Lots of lines resonating with folks. The thing that I was most, I realize you do this in your work a lot, and I love it, and it's such a powerful device. But like the time collapse, or like like the how it started with the pain before your that preceded your birth or your mother's birth,
My
and
mom's
that
pregnancy.
your
Mm-hmm.
mom's pregnancy. That's what I'm, yeah. And then bringing in names that we've heard, Sandra, Tamir Rice, and like, it's all connected. So could you talk a little bit about that? Like what, um, what brings you to connect all of this like history and grief and pain um with your personal story.
Sure. The reason it shows up like that is because everything is connected.
Mm-hmm, mm-hmm,
Um, um, you know, my history, my career, and all the little side things I've done as far as wanting to be of service. Um, I think it's just because I have seen over and over and over and over again in people's story and in, people's trauma that we're all the same. Like, I know that just sounds like some sort of overarching sort of blanket statement, but
mm-hmm,
we really are. And I think for me, the thing that I always kind of hone in on is how oftentimes I feel like as humans, we want to separate ourselves, right? We want to, look at ourselves in a way where we are able to easily say, well, that would never happen to me. Or,
mm-hmm,
I would never go down that road, or I would never make that choice, or, all the different ways that we try as humans to separate ourselves and to differentiate ourselves and our lives and our history and our choices and such. But I think the reality of it is, number one, everything in life is about perspective. Um, there are no rights and wrongs. There are no good and bads. And that sort of thinking also comes from my 15 years as a Buddhist practitioner.
mm-hmm,
Buddhism talks directly about that, the fact that everything is interdependent. Everything is everything that originates because of something else, right? Everything that exists,
mm-hmm,
it exists because of something else. There's always a line back, right? That
mm-hmm.
connects. And I think I've just, in 25 years, I've just watched how, like for example, when I started my career, I was working in domestic violence shelters. And,
Mm-hmm.
I would always hear like friends around me or even family members like, making comments like, why would she go back? Or why did she stay as long as she did? Why did she keep her kids in that situation for as long as she did? And I really feel like my number one goal in life, like honestly, is to help people realize that what we sometimes look at as a choice, like a free will sort of choice, is again dependent upon something else, right? Nothing
Right.
springs forth in life just by itself. It
Mm-hmm,
springs forth because of a cause or a condition.
mm-hmm.
And so who knows if I answered your question, Amanda, but you
You
know what
did.
I mean? It's easy for me to always draw parallels because I can't even see the world as separate. I see everything as being in existence because of something else. And so all I know how to do is just bring all those ribbons in, It's like, oh,
Yeah.
this ribbon belongs here. Oh, that one too. Oh, that one too.
Mm-hmm.
Ah, that one too. And then even pull them from out of me, like, oh God, I
Yeah.
got that too. Let me take
Sure.
that out. Oh my God, her too. And it's
Yeah.
just very easy for me to just see all those little connections and then to just tie it all up because it's all
Mm-hmm.
connected, you know. Even for me, prior to becoming a social worker, I was in a couple of domestic violence relationships. I
Mm-hmm.
was once the woman calling the police, running
Yeah.
from an ex-boyfriend kind of thing. And so because I've been able to see how my choices or choices of lives around me, right, it's just not as easy as we think it is. It's just not as
Mhm.
black and white as we try to make it, it's not as easy as good or bad,
Mhm.
it's all muddy and it's all
Mhm.
gray and it's all
Mhm.
unclear and it's all unfair. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
So anyway,
Yeah. Thank you so much.
yeah, thank you.
Elizabeth dropped in the chat that you will be teaching 2 classes in the spring.
Mhm,
And so I'm curious, especially with the one that's like coming up in January, is
mhm,
there um is do you see a way out of that's like circularity? And because you're talking about writing toward it's revolution, New Year's revolution, writing
mhm.
toward the world we deserve. So is there ways to um repair, um even if it's all connected and like,
Mhm.
like is there like an inevitable end, or is there like positive ways to change, to transform our futures?
Sure. Um, it all starts with ourselves,
Hmm.
period. That's the end of the sentence.
Yeah.
Um, we work on ourselves. That's how we help to transform the world. We do it in silence. We don't do it in front of everybody. We don't blast about it. Just like I think someone was talking, oh, Amanda, you were talking about being seated and just continuing to sit irregardless of the
Right.
thoughts and whatever else not. That's you basically are speaking to exactly what I'm talking about. Behind closed doors, it doesn't even matter if you're, because oftentimes something too, like, in my studies as a Buddhist, oftentimes when it comes to things like meditation, we have like this set sort of like, I have to be seated, I have to have no thoughts, my breathing has to be relaxed,
Hmm.
and the bottom line is as long as you show up every day and like
Yeah.
give it your best
Mm.
and do it with the right intention, not
Right.
the intention to talk about it and
Yeah.
and show it off and this, that, and
Yeah.
the other. Do it with the intention that your practice is for the benefit of all. It's not
Mm.
just for you. You don't just meditate so you can be calm, right? You meditate because you are hoping that that experience of you meditating is going to show up in the world, and it will.
Mm.
And that's how
Mm.
we change the world.
Love it. I
So,
love it. Thank you so much,
yeah,
Tasjha.
thank you. Appreciate it.
Thank you. Appreciate it. All right. Our final presenter today is Alec Esparza. Alec is an autorista/storyteller with 35 years working in collaboration with families, schools, community partners, and Department of Corrections throughout California. He utilizes the folk art of storytelling, ofrendas, altar making, creative writing, experiential critical thinking activities, and adventure learning. Alec's approach embraces creating sacred space for community building, social transformation, and healing. Participants engage in the process of becoming more responsive and responsible members of the community. His goal is to deepen and broaden personal life skills to face life challenges in the world we touch and to walk in beauty with greater strength, understanding, and wisdom. Learn more at ozocommunity.com. Welcome, Alec.
Hello. Such powerful words I've listened to today, and a couple of faces that I would certainly like to meet in person again someday. All these words that came up uh, kind of reflected in my thinking and beliefs uh, about what our task is, what our work is about, how we reach out to others and impacting the world we touch with words of power. And they're not just words, there are things they're words to ponder. They're words to walk in beauty with. They are words to show what the possibilities are of connections, connecting with one another. And I heard connecting and so forth a few times. And it also resonated for me the idea of the power of words my father shared with us. He was an amazing man. He didn't go past ninth grade, yet he's the oldest of 15, and he had many responsibilities watching over his siblings. So he had to use words often that made sense, that someone can grab or grasp and internalize it and do something amazing with it or good. And so I'm dedicating my day today to his memory, his power, his strength of using words to challenge me to think. And all my friends, whenever they would come over to our home, I would just say, careful what you say. My dad's going to share something with you that's going to challenge you to perhaps think differently in a way you had not thought of before. And that's my general goal with the work that I do. I asked this question with many of the young men and young women I worked with over the years. And somewhere along the line, I said something like, well, be hopeful. You know, hope is a good thing that we can grasp and hold on to. And too many times the response was, what's that? Hope? Are you kidding me? There's no such thing. I've never realized it. I don't know what it looks like. I don't know how that feels. So in my work relating to my father, he always had metaphors for things. And a metaphor has such power when it's delivered in a way that I'll just say makes sense, so to speak. So the metaphor that I thought of over the years listening to this response was the moon, a tangible thing that we can see that reflects on Earth and ourselves. And then the phases of the moon has a way of representing what hope might feel like, might look like, something we can internalize. Beginning with the new moon. It's up there. We don't see it very well. Now that the smog's all gone, we have a little more sense of seeing it. It's not bright, but you can tell the outline of it. It's up there. That's the new moon. And then it evolves into what my father would call, look, mijo, the night sky is smiling down on us, the crescent moon. And that's like a reminder of a friendly, trusting smile that you can look forward to in your dream, in your hope, and what you're anticipating, what you're looking for. And then in that phase of waxing, which things grow, it turns into the half moon. And it begins to bulge and grow more and more toward that full moon. So bright, it just fills up Earth, the half of the Earth that it's reflecting on. And then you're anticipating that the next phase will be a phase of starting all over again. So it's a constant. So there are times when we're hopeful about something, it kind of wanes and you kind of have this sense of, I hope it comes true. Well, anything we dream for, pray for, in those kinds of ways, it just doesn't happen. Action behind it makes it real. And anticipating that with faith and strength and the probabilities that lie in front of us can be captured in those phases. Especially when the new moon comes around again. Hey, what happened? What happened to the hope? Well, rest assured that in 29.5 days, all those different phases are going to come back again. That's what you can be looking forward to, and the meaning of each one of those phases. We can carry that with us. We can anticipate that. And it's been doing that for hundreds, thousands of years. Something tangible, something I can relate to of those possibilities. So the moon phases are something that I share with especially my grandkids. Oh my gosh, whenever they come over and they go home and it's at night, we always stop and say, "Look, Mija, look, Mijo, what's that?" The moon. That's right. Don't forget that. What kind of moon is it? I don't know. Well, right now it's smiling down on us, Mija. That's called a crescent moon. And it'll come back again in about a month. So making them aware of those kinds of things like my father did are things that I feel I can reach out to, hold on to, and never let go of. So that's my idea of utilizing the phases of the moon as a metaphor with the people I work with in the world that I touch, because those are the ones I can reach. The world I touch with thoughts, with probabilities, and belief that many of those things will happen not in our time, to just be patient and realize it when it appears. I believe earlier it was I didn't write down her name. She was two people before me. I didn't write her name, but she asked if there was something we can do about getting things stuck in our head. This is one of my father's other great sharings, I believe. He says, "You know what, Mijo? We wake up every day with the same challenge, each one of us." Oh, what's that, Dad? Well, when you wake up, you're looking forward to the day. Earlier, someone mentioned about a bed, and my dad would say, "I'm always grateful when I can get up, take a deep breath, especially when I can get up without no help." Well, he continued to say that when he was very sickly and passed 30 years ago. But he said that there's a journey that we make from here, our mind, our brain, to our heart, our soul, our internal existence. And if we don't make that journey often each day, come back up here, if we get stuck up here, we kind of lose some of that strength, some of that wisdom that if we stay up here too much, we have to keep traveling down to our heart, back to our mind and our head every day, back and forth, up and down. Don't get stuck up here. So I thank my father for that realization or process of being in tune with the strength and ability to affect the world I touch. Thank you.
Thanks so much, Alec. I love how connected all of these pieces are. It's like I just asked Tasjha about hope, and then you gave us this gorgeous metaphor of the moon, which I feel very connected to. My son, who is 3, he is also very into cosmos, and getting me into that too. And so but the moon especially is so constant and there even when we can't see it, which is so lovely to think about as far as like hope in the background. It's there, but we have to work. But also with you talking about bringing these stories out to the world that you can touch, that felt very powerful to me as well, with the idea that, as Tasjha was saying, like we can only work on ourselves, and we can only work like here, like with the people that we are in contact with, and so I think it was Tracie who had mentioned, like, how do we get out of our head? Um, the head to the journey from the head to the heart, and back, I think is also um, something I'll be thinking about a lot when, throughout the week. I'm curious, how do the people, when you talk about the moon with the people who don't really experience hope, how do they react to that story?
Well, my experience is that anytime we can share a thought that connects us in a way that we had not thought of before is it's something very like something very new that you love, and you don't want to let it go. You hold on to it as long
Mhm.
as you can. People can't take it away from you. And when it internalizes in a way that you can make sense of that thought, of that process, of that probability, you don't want to let it go.
Mm,
Especially with the men I work with, they were sentenced 25 years to life,
mm,
all of them minimal 25 years. And they reached a point where they're being granted the opportunity to be released in a
mm.
reentry program. And we use metaphors for everything.
Yeah.
And to watch their drawings, their writing, their poems, especially when they say, I don't know how to write. What's the
Mm,
poem? Hell, I don't know how to write, dude. Uh, and all of a sudden, within the 12-week session, they're beautiful artistry that represents like the moon, but it could be a lion, pride, family pride, the tree, the tree of life. What does that mean? What kind of fruit do I receive? All kinds of things like that. So I believe that's anytime something is experienced in a way they had not thought of before, and it feels good and it feels right and it makes sense. Someone mentioned that we are a bridge for humanity. That's what
mm,
that bridge is about. And
mm,
we can bring a sense of fresh air of life to individuals like that. And the
mm,
realities of truth are hard to speak of. But when we do, thank you, Sasha, awesome stuff.
mhm,
The truths of life it's not an easy thing to do, but when we can experience it and digest it in a way that gives us a better sense of understanding, of truth, and wisdom is
mhm,
something some or most that we work with that I know of do not want to let it go.
mm. Beautiful. Thank you so much, Alec. And thank you to all of our performers, readers, sharers, wisdom seekers today. This was a really gorgeous session. I'm so happy for all of you um, who read today. And so thank you also for the people who were in our audience today. I hope it was a lovely journey for you as well. Let's give everybody a round of applause just in the room so that we can see it on the video. Thank you. Thank you to Tracie, who in her TLAN coordinator hat, she has one, or I'm going to make one. She does the registration and the announcements and all the emails and the last minute emails that I ask her to write. So thank you, Tracie. Thank you to Elizabeth, who has kept me able to focus today because she has been running the tech behind the scenes. So I so appreciate that, Elizabeth. If you are interested in volunteering to help out with the next virtual salon, please contact Tracie at tlan.coordinator@gmail.com so we can figure out a time to chat. And to all of you, if this is your first TLAN event or if you're a longtime supporter, thank you so much for being here. And if you see yourself in the work or conversation that we experienced today, please consider joining us as a member or donate to support our work. Again, our end of year fundraiser is tlanetwork.org/donate. And have a warm, safe, and joyous holiday season. Thank you so much.